everyone. So thankful that you are tuning in today to Jewel Diamond Taylor's signature InnerView series. And I'm always honored when people that I love and admire and respect say, yes, I'll be on with you, Jewel. And so you see right now a beautiful sister friend, and she's actually my neighbor. We didn't even realize we were neighbors. But would you please welcome Deborah Smith Pegues. Deborah Smith Pegues. Yay! God bless you, my sister. And for those of you that don't know her, I'm going to give you a brief bio, and believe me, it is brief. But I'm going to feature her book today because as a fellow author friend, I have been blessed by her body of work. Deborah Smith Pegues is a CPA, MBA, certified John Maxwell leadership coach. Oh, John Maxwell is amazing. She's a speaker, a certified behavior consultant, and international speaker. Deborah has written, now listen everybody, 17 transformational books, including the bestseller 30 Days to Taming Your Tongue, which sold over 1 million copies worldwide. And she wrote the 1 Minute Money Mentor for Women. She and her husband, Darnell, have been married over 40 years. So, you know, John, I beat you by a few years.
Yeah, I love it.
We just celebrated 50. But wow. We are featuring her book today. Take a look. I love the title, Deborah. Lead Like a Woman. The subtitle, Gain Confidence, Navigate Obstacles, Empower Others. And that's what I love to do. So, you know, when I got this in the mail, I gobbled it up. I was like, okay, this is a treasure, and this will be in the top list of my books that I keep handy so I can just grab it and refer to it. So Deborah, welcome, and please share with my audience a little bit of why this book needs to be in their toolbox.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me here. This book did remind me of you. Even when I was writing it, I thought that's what Jewel does. You empower women. You know, you help give them confidence. But I want to tell you something. The reason I will always say yes to you because you are such a giver to other people. I watch how you empower other women, and you have a genuine burden. You're not trying to sell stuff. You are genuinely interested in people's personal development, and I will help anybody who's on that track. So, why did I write this book? I wasn't trying to write this book. I think some projects just call you. So when I read a stat that said it's going to take 200 years for women to achieve gender equality, I'm thinking, no, it's not. I don't have 200 years. And neither does anybody that we're listening to today. So I thought, let's write a tool that will probably at least help you to fast track your personal journey. And so that's what it's about, looking at ways that we're already leaders. We're already leaders, and we already have what it takes. So in the book, I highlight 12 inherent traits that God has put in women that cause them to excel in the area of leadership. But I also talk about 12 behaviors that we engage in that sabotage our progress. So that's what it's all about. It's a very balanced approach. It's not an anti-men's approach. You just don't have to act like a man. You can lead like a woman.
And isn't it interesting? It's coming out in this historical political atmosphere with Kamala running.
That is amazing.
President. I mean, so that's why the calling was pushing you, because there are going to be so many women leaders that are going to step up and be on the front line because they're going to be inspired by her leadership, and they're going to be inspired by this historical time. They're going to say, yeah, I can do that too. And I've been sitting on my gifts, and I didn't have the tools that you are providing with us. And I love the fact that you are sharing not only the pros, but we need to be aware of what are we doing to step on our own toes? What are we doing to block our own blessing? What are we doing where we have blind spots? I talk a lot about that. And I want to share some of the titles that are in your books to give my audience justification why they need to get this book. You have 2 parts. I'm just going to list some of the subjects. Experiencing the rewards of the collective brain power, controlling your feelings, mining the gold in other people, so important in leadership, learning how to connect effectively, going with your gut, and getting results, bouncing back, bouncing back and moving forward. And I find a lot of women in my coaching experience, that's where they're stuck, Deborah.
Yeah.
Talk about rolling with the changes, rolling with the challenges, getting real about your weaknesses. And isn't that a stumbling block for so many? Our ego gets in the way, or
Yeah.
we have too many yes people around us.
Ooh, yes. All of that. Yeah.
And then you talk about the tendencies that we need to let go of.
Yeah.
Lacking confidence, pursuing perfection. This is big. Disfavoring. Look, I love that word.
Yeah.
Disfavoring other women.
Well, Jewel, you know we like to be the queen bee sometimes.
Come on, isn't that real? I just coached someone yesterday and she was dancing all around it because she didn't want to say that she was perceiving that someone in her camp was. I said, come on and say it. She's jealous. Okay, if the red flags are there, the red flags are there.
Yeah,
and what did
yeah.
Dr. Maya Angelou say? If somebody shows you who they are, believe it.
Believe them. Right.
And I love how you address how we often take on this superwoman and we allow the multitasking to take over. You talk about how we downplay our skills and our accomplishments. You talk about work-life balance and lacking executive presence.
Ooh, that's my favorite one.
Oh, is that your favorite one?
Yeah, that's my favorite topic.
Speak on that a little bit, Deborah.
Okay, well, listen, a lot of times I've been in situations in corporate America, and I had many years in corporate America, and they would sometimes when we were in meetings talking about a person's potential, particularly a woman, somebody might say, yeah, she doesn't have executive presence. She's not ready for that top spot. And I'm thinking, but nobody's told her what that looks like. And so that's why I like, and I'm not political, but that's why I like Kamala checks off all the boxes. She has executive presence. Come on. What does that look like? First of all, you got to be prepared so that people know that you are proficient at what you do. I mean, women bring that to the table, so
no apology.
No apology. She's prepared. She's had the experience. She's paid the dues. All right. So she's prepared for the job, but she's also personable. So she's not over there trying to act like macho, but she's fierce, but she's personable. She smiles. You notice that? She's a touchable person.
I love that.
And she's poised. We're not embarrassed by how she presents herself. She is poised, which means she is confident. She knows what it takes. You can tell she knows the social graces. Listen, this is all learned behavior. You're not born with this stuff, but this is all in part 2 of the book, things that we need to do, because sometimes women show up, Jewel, and they, their presence is like, it doesn't say I want to be an executive. It says I want to be sexy. They dress alluringly.
Come on, girl.
I know I'm gonna get in trouble, but listen, my good friend Shantae Feldhahn, she wrote the title endorsement because she has written and studied this officially about the male mindset. And women just don't understand. We kind of do really, that men are visual. And when you come in there with boobs and behinds, is that what you want to lead with? Is that what you want to be memorable? Is that because they're going to remember that. They're not going to remember a thing you said.
That you said.
And they've actually done the studies where they tested men before. They had one woman to dress alluringly, and when they tested their comprehension of what she had talked about, very low. Same situation. Oh, they remember it. It wasn't because the woman looked like homie. She wasn't looking all whatever, but you have to come in if that's what you want to project, is that kind of leadership. If you want executive presence, want to be respected by the guys, then don't, listen, let me just say this. This is not a book to tell you got to salute all the behaviors of men, because it's not. It's on how to be powerful as a woman and still get your point across. I was reading something this morning that just blessed my soul. And I said, when I get on with Jewel, I'm going to tell this story. But it's in 2 Samuel 20. And this mean army general was coming against the city. He was David's army general. His name was Joab. He came to burn up this city because he was looking for a certain rebel who, guy had rebelled against David. There was a woman. It didn't give us her name or anything. It says she yelled down there. He's down there battering the wall to the city. She said, hey, somebody tell him to come here and talk to me. She had no delegated authority. She was a woman who asserted she had authority that she hadn't been given, all right? She said, come here and talk to me. And when he came over, she said, are you Joab? I love this because women just didn't do that. She said, listen, you're tearing up a city. This is God's city, and I'm a mother in this city. I'm a mother in Israel. What's the problem? And he says, well, I just want this one guy. I mean, she puts this guy on the defensive. He said, I'm looking for that guy. If you just deliver him, and we'll be gone. She said, I'll throw his head over. Listen,
because she cared about
the city. Yeah. Hello. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, she cares
Yeah.
about the community. It's not just about herself. And
Right.
that's what you're hearing from Biden and from Kamala, that they care. And that's
Yeah.
what's missing right now. But getting
Yeah.
back to your book, Leading Like a Woman. This is
Yeah.
so timely because many of us don't have role models in our family. I had a couple, but only maybe just a couple. And I gleaned from them so often the courage that they had, that they withstood racism, and they withstood hateration, and they withstood, being misunderstood. And so we need your book to help us to understand what it is to lead like a woman. We've got books on how to love, we've
Yeah.
got books on how to pray, but you're teaching us how to lead like a woman. And some may get offended. Some may say, oh, well, that's not me. But I would tell you, read the book, eat the fish, and spit out the bones if you are offended. But I know you will find some pearls of wisdom in here that will help you to promote and help you to innovate. Because in this atmosphere, this era that we're in now, there are going to be a lot of women that are going to be starting their businesses. There are going to be a lot of women in entrepreneurial positions, in political positions. We see more and more women in the political front line. We see more and more women leading their
Yes.
nonprofit organization, as I am leading mine. And I'm learning so many things that, how to deal with people, how to balance, how to delegate, time management. So you're sharing so much wisdom for us, and we thank you for this book.
Well,
Oh
Jewel,
my,
I just want to say that, and there will be a lot of women who will do those things you named, and then there will be a lot of them who won't because they don't have the confidence to know that they can. And that's just one of the key messages in the book, that you don't have to stay out of your head. When I say stay out of your head, don't limit what you can do based on just your education or your experience or even the few people that you know. Listen,
yes,
you have a God that wants you to excel, and you can. And so this whole concept of confidence, I've studied it. I even have another book on it, on the secrets to supreme confidence. Because listen, confidence means with trust. You don't need self-confidence. You need trust in a higher power. You do. You need supreme confidence. And so that's what I try to walk in, to know that I can just step out. When I feel like I'm inadequate, I just remind myself that my adequacy doesn't come from me, it flows through me. And so when I look at that, I'm thinking like, that's right. If I just show up, I'm practicing operating outside of my comfort zone. I deliberately sometimes, even now, show up for an interview. I don't know what the questions are going to be. Once I showed up, I didn't even know what the subject of the interview was. But I used to be such a slave to my notes, and I got to say this. And it's like, just show up. You have what you need already. Don't
exactly.
be afraid to show up. And that's my message to women, even in this book. Show up, know that you need other people. Get a circle of other women who can empower you. I'm so glad,
Exactly.
Jewel, to have you in my circle, because you have given me exposure to your audience. You don't have that scarcity mindset. Well, if I expose them to her, they're
Yeah,
going to follow her. What kind of madness is that?
I
What
know.
kind
We have to
of
overcome that. We have to overcome that. And our foundational scripture for women on the grow is Psalm 46:5, which says, because God is within her, she cannot fail. And once you
cannot fail?
understand that he has deposited a seed of greatness in you. See, I often say, you're not seedless. And we can go to the store right now and get seedless grapes and seedless watermelon. It's not natural. That's not how God created it. But God
That's right.
created a seed in each and every one of us. And your books, not book, but your books help us to water that seed of greatness. And so, one of my taglines is, I know I was born for this. And I know that you were born for what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Books, Deborah, 17. What would you say to
What?
those that
Actually,
are
it's 18.
Okay, that's right. Okay. What would you say to those right now sitting on a book and they're overthinking their book and they're thinking, how dare I call myself an author? I remember the first time I wrote a book, I'm like, oh, I'm calling myself an author. And each book got better and better, but I was like, oh, how dare I call myself an author? But I'm comfortable with that now. So I believe there's someone watching that wants to write a book, but they don't have that tribe around them. They don't have that toolbox to support them, to allow that gift to emerge. What would you say to
I
those
say,
beginning authors?
get started. First of all, what is your core message? What
Come
is
on.
it at the end of the day? Once you've written this book, what do you want women to walk away with? How can you solve a problem, add value to somebody else? I don't care what the book is about. It may be about avoiding domestic abuse or how to deal with it, how to get out of it. You're going to add value. So once you sit down with that, you just think about 10 things you want people to know. This is real practical. Here's why most people don't get done. I know this because I've been through this many times. Okay, so they try to edit and write. Listen, this is all you need to do. Get a topic, one that catches my eye, that tells me immediately what problem you're solving for me. Get about 10 things I want them to know, and then write 300 words a day. Write 300 words a day, but just 3 days a week. And try to write, when it's all said and done, about 35,000 words. That's what it's going to take for the book to have a good spine, can stand up on a shelf in a library or whatever. 35. So 35,000 words, you would be done in less than a year. And don't get crazy with it, but just don't edit it. Just throw your thoughts on a paper, on the computer, whatever you're doing. Don't say, oh, I don't like how that sounds. Let me reword it. Don't do that. Just dump all your thoughts on the paper. Listen,
does your title come first? Does the title come first?
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you, when I wrote like Lead Like a Woman, 30 Days to Taming Your Tongue, you don't have to guess what it's about. You know, you don't need a title where people are like, what's that? Because if you do have one of those titles, then you need a really strong subtitle that explains it, because people aren't going to wait to see what it's about. They just need to know. They need to know right away. We call it the WIFM principle, WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Yes.
Yes. And they need to know that right away, because they they'll just keep going. You just got to do that.
How long did it take you to write this book?
Oh, Lord, this is why I thought I wasn't supposed to write it. Almost 2 years, but I didn't write on it consistently. I have written a book similar size and bigger in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
Yes.
You know what I admire about it? I admire your discipline as an author, because I had different communications with you during the process of writing that book. And I would say, look at her email would say, look, I am on lockdown right now. I will not be available. I mean, you were so disciplined. I thought that is so great, because too many times we are people pleasing and we're allowing everybody to pull from us, but you had clear boundaries. So I think that's something we want authors to understand, that once you are committed to the process, and of course, I know you had a deadline. Have all of your books been published by the same publisher?
Yes, I self-published the first 2, which is a great way to go. So I tell everybody, because the chance of getting with a traditional publisher is about 5% maybe or less. So you want to publish a self-publish and then sell so many of them that you take it to a publisher and say, hey, this book has some validity in the marketplace. Look how many I've sold. That's how I got 30 Days to Taming Your Tongue published, because I had sold about 2,500 copies under another whole title. It was called The Tongue Fast, because it was a 30-day fast from negativity. They said, we don't like that. We don't like that title. So, in the meantime, don't worry about getting traditionally published. Just publish your book. There are tons of stuff out there, people who can do it, help you, all of that. I even offer some consultation on how to do that. But just get started. Here's the thing. Get started. You do have to have some little block of time that you're going to set aside. And listen, you're not going to be able to have fun probably until it's all done. But I've balanced mine out. I only write 3 or 4 days a week. I don't do Fridays. That's my date night. Sunday mornings, all that, I don't do that. So I just plan it out and do it. Here's the thing, make yourself accountable to somebody. Just say, check on me, make sure I'm doing this. That helps too. Yeah.
Now you shared something authors should do. Tell me a learning lesson that you learned that we need to avoid.
In terms of leadership or being an author?
Both.
Okay, well, and sometimes they transfer over into life. First thing is how to stay focused. Write everything down. Sometimes you'll get a thought if you're in the shower. You may get a thought when you're out walking. So I always keep a little folder open on my phone or wherever, and I'll just write my thoughts. Just write it down. If you get a thought, just write that down. Don't worry about developing it. Just write it down. So that's the thing you have to do. But important is the boundaries. People need to know that I'm just not available. That's not only being an author, that's in life. These boundaries can't just be in your head. Because a lot of times we have the boundary in our head. Well, they should know I'm busy. I told them I was writing a book. No, we teach people how to treat us by what we tolerate. So when you tolerate people violating your boundaries, they're just going to keep going and say, oh, she's not really on lockdown. She'll talk to me an hour.
And somehow when people see you that you work at home or you're self-employed, you've got all this disposable time. They don't realize we work 7 days a week and your mind is constantly going, and it's not that you're an introvert or you're antisocial, but creatives, I believe we are creatives, and creatives have certain a certain bend to our personality, and we can quite often be misunderstood. So when I ask the question, let me be more clear with my question. Is there a learning lesson, something that just really hurt you or set you back, or wow, man, I'll never do that again? Can you give us a lesson that you learned? Because some of the lessons cannot be in a book. We have to experience it.
Well, I think the lesson that I learned is that everything I need doesn't emanate from me. I really learned to depend on God, Jewel. I'm serious. I use my 2 Corinthians 3:5, not that I am sufficient of myself, to think of anything as being from myself, but my sufficiency is from God. So many times I've sat down to write and I don't know what I'm going to write. I mean, I've worked already 14 hours that day, and then I feel like I'm brain dead, and I'll just say, okay, God, what you got? You speak, I'll type. I remember once when I did that, I was writing a book on conquering insecurity or something, but he gave me 5 ways. I'm not going to tell them, but I thought this was so creative when he gave them to me, 5 ways to accept criticism. And they all started with the letter L. I'm thinking like, get out of here. I'm not that creative this time of night. So that had to be God. So this is what I've learned. Stop trying to live life in your own strength. Sometimes you just need to show up and say, I'm here. Speak to me right now. Because I don't know.
Be available to the stream of the flow. Yeah, that's great. It. Well, Deborah, this has been such a pleasure. You and I, wow, there's such an alignment in our lives in so many ways. And I just honor you and respect you and love you and celebrate your new book and your success. And I thank you so much for talking with my audience today. And I encourage everyone to get the book. Is there a way they can connect with you, get the book, and you give them all your information, please?
Oh, sure. It's the book can be gotten anywhere books are sold. I'm sending everybody to Amazon right now so we can maximize the sales there. So Amazon.com, or just put in my name. It's going to pop up. Put in Lead Like a Woman. My website is DeborahPegues.com. And the Pegues is spelled Pegues. So it's DeborahPegues.com.
I love you, my sister. Thank you so much.
I love you.
And God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
And thank you, Jewel. Thank you for all that you do for women. Thank you for all the overtures you've made towards me. I love you. You are genuine. I will always say yes to you.
Amen. To God be the glory. God bless you. Stay in the light, Deborah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Audio Jungle.